everybody, and welcome back to Exploring Culture Part 2. So this is Part 2 of your first lecture together, and cultural. So as I said, there is a list there for you to have a think about if you're interested in having a look at that, but just realise the difference at least between these three things. So then, if we come on then, there was a kind of misunderstanding because of it. So for example, to give you an example of eye contact, I have a good few friends here in Cork who are Nigerian, and a lot of them will have said to me that they found it very difficult when they came to Ireland first, because looking somebody in the eye isn't kind of part of their culture, or certainly from that part of Nigeria anyway, and especially for children to do so. So that it actually, you know, from an Irish point of view, sometimes looking at people, it might come across as almost sort of slightly odd, or maybe slightly disrespectful, or something unsure about it, because it wouldn't be a cultural norm to do that. Whereas people who were doing it were being respectful. And when you know that, you have a completely different kind of attitude to it. And it's important to know these things, you know, that actually if somebody isn't looking at you in the eye, they in a particular culture, they are showing you respect. Whereas we mightn't have understood it in that way. And particularly when you're new to a culture, and or when a culture comes to you and you're new to it and they're new to you. So and the world is becoming far more you know, interrelated these days, and we are all getting more exposed to different cultures, but at the same time some of these things are very, very deep. So use of first names, I gave an example to the class in Lesotho about, I'm doing something similar to this with a German class that I am, a group of students in UCC who are learning German, and they're doing an intercultural exchange with people in Germany. And those students find it amazing that the students in Cork, here in Cork, use first names for their lecturers, because they wouldn't dream about it in Germany. So it's a different cultural norm. And I suppose where I had to change was to make sure that when I was speaking to the students in Germany, that I was using their lecturers' surnames and saying Professor Strumpf or whatever, because it would have been kind of very strange to them and maybe disrespectful for me to be using that man's first name. He didn't mind so much because he's used to dealing with people from different parts of the world, but I think within the context of what we were doing, which was an academic course, then I think it was only right of me to be respectful of that. And that was an interesting conversation because it brought up questions of power distance, which we will talk about. In different cultures have different relationships with authority and power. And it's not like everybody's over on the left or the right of a spectrum. There's a very wide spectrum. There's a line, and we're all there somewhere on that line. And these are just models that help you to think about it. They're not sort of set in stone. They're not black and white. They're flexible, but they're ways into thinking about things. So in intercultural communications, you'll come across a lot of models, like, you know, our frameworks, our ideas, and it's not so much that this is it sort of thing. It's more that it's a way of thinking. People who have explored these things and done research on them, and they'll help you to think through some of the issues that come up. It's really on the cultural norms, okay? So if you take that as an activity, and we'll stop now again, and you can take some time if you want to have a think about that. You know, if you have time, you can maybe write 1 or 2 sentences about something that happened to you where there was a misunderstanding, and I'll be meeting you online, and we can talk about it there. Okay, so thank you. That's the end of part 2. Really, that's all there